Hi, Christopher James here with Branson Open Mic with someone new to town, Mr. James Sibley.
New and glad to be here.
New and glad to be here, and a lot of people are asking me about you.
Oh, really?
Yeah, for those of you that don't know, he is the new comedian at
Pierce Arrow.
Pierce
Look at
Arrow.
that. He brought the cup with me.
Fancy cross promotion. We'll have to we'll blur that out. That'll be blurred. Are you new to Branson? Have you ever
Brand
been?
spanking new to Branson. I'm
Brand spanking new in Branson.
I've been a comic on the road for about close to 20 years, combined with all the other stuff. I actually came here back when Paul Harris was still at Pierce Arrow.
Oh, yeah.
And I filled in for him for a couple of times. I say a couple of times, probably 5 or 6 times.
Yeah.
And then Jarrett, I can't remember Jarrett's last name.
Doherty.
Yeah, me and Jarrett were offered the job. I didn't really want the job. I wanted to hit the road. I still had dreams of going to LA and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And, so I passed on that job.
So those dreams are shattered.
Those dreams are shattered. I did it. I went to LA. I had a good time. I learned a little bit of Spanish while I was out there.
Oh, yeah, you have to.
Yeah, you have to. And went back, and I'd been doing Carnival for a long time, Carnival cruises, and still doing some of the clubs. And the owner of the club, just out of the blue, called me and said, "Do you want to come?" And I just got married, and it kind of worked out to where while my wife was living in Memphis, I was in South Carolina. And I said, "This is a way we can be together." Being on the road is a hard thard thing.
Yeah, I did it for a long time.
Yeah.
And especially working on a ship.
On a ship is really hard.
It's a unique life.
Yeah.
People, I've done one Carnival cruise. It's a running joke that I have, that I've done over 890 cruises, and one of them was on Carnival. It was not a good experience for me. But
most people, just to get an idea, your bathroom at home, chances are is bigger than the cabin that we stay in.
Right.
Television is limited to about, 15 channels, and 8 of those are sports, and 5 of those are news. So if you don't like sports and news, you're not going to really get it. It's a little bit of punishment. It's kind of like being in prison.
Okay, this is what I say, and people look at me like I'm crazy. I say it's a gilded cage because it's a great place to be. It's better than drywalling and roofing and that sort of job.
Right.
But after a while, you start to go a little mental because the TV channels are what get me, because the same shows repeat, the same episodes of Dirty Jobs or whatever. I've seen a Big Bang Theory episode. I saw it for 3 years.
Right, and that show about the people in Alaska, man, oh my God, yeah.
But after a while, you just run out of things to do.
That's right, and you become a comedian kind of because you have that nonconformist attitude. Not so much that you kind of. I always joke and say I'm getting paid now to do what got me fired from my other job.
That's what I say. That
There's
used
not
to give
really
me detention.
Right. There's not really a place for humor in the Fortune 500 workplace, but on there you are kind of you are back at a Fortune 500. Principally they have rules and there's regulations, and going through immigration. I don't know if you have to do that. Every time that ship comes back into port, you have to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And stand in line with 80 guys from India and Philippines, and it's just you're like, why am I doing this? What is going on here?
I know, the bureaucracy
Yeah.
and the scheduling. That's what always got me. I'm used to doing my own thing. When I was on the road doing clubs, I could say, "Yeah, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that." But on a ship, they got strict schedules, strict times.
Right.
Especially the ones I work on. When they say they want you to do 40 minutes,
Right.
it's 40 minutes because they want the people back in the casino.
Right. And wearing a name tag. You have to wear a name tag. Nothing says rock and roll like a name tag.
Yeah, right.
Nothing says nonconformist.
So
like
on
that.
Carnival though, you're a crew member. Is that how they?
Yeah, you're a contractor. I used to do it when we were literally flying on. So
That's what I do.
The ship would be in Cozumel. So you'd fly into Cozumel. You'd go through the immigration process there. Get on the ship. The ship would go down south to Honduras 2 days later, and you'd get off and go back home. Now you do the entire cruise. So it's, I'm working 2.5 hours the entire time I'm on there, and I might be on there for 5 days.
Which sounds great.
Yeah.
To most people, but like we were saying, after a while.
Right. And as comics, we're used to, after a show, thank you, I had a great time, it's good to see you, I'll come back sometime, goodbye, I'll never see you again. And it's not that I don't want to see him again, it's just, thanks and that. But on the ship, no, you go to the bathroom, there's that guy who was at your show last night.
Yeah.
And now he's thought up something funny that he wants to tell you.
Oh, try this. I do magic.
Oh,
and
wow.
comedy. So I always say there's two ways the cruise can go. One is I'm at the beginning of the cruise or welcome aboard.
Right.
Everybody knows you, and that's one thing.
Yeah, that's one
thing. The other thing is you stay on the ship the whole time, and you're the creepy guy by himself at everything.
Right.
And then they know who you are at the end of the cruise.
All right.
So either way, but as a comedian and as a magician, let me show you a trick. My uncle does a trick.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But
or I bet I know,
thing.
or how did that work? Or I bet I know how this works.
Yeah, but the jokes, and I talk about this with everybody I have on here that does comedy. Do you find that most of the jokes people give you are jokes you could never possibly do?
Right, or there's some other, and I mean, I'm a Southern guy. I do not say, in my act, I'm a Southern guy, but I never say the word redneck, I never say Walmart, I never say trailer park, any of that. Mm-hmm. I'm just a Southern guy telling my jokes. But I get a lot of people who come up, and especially in a club, it's like, hey man, I got one for you. And then they'll do this little look. And I know what's coming, it's going to be a racist joke. And as soon as they start that, I'll go, hey man, that's cool. I don't really want to hear that joke. Well, then you get this look on their face like, I don't know. It's almost like, well, man, I thought you was cool or whatever.
Yeah,
you know, it's like we're smoking weed or something. You know? And I say, man, if you like that joke, that's fine. But I don't want other people hearing you telling me that joke. If other people hear you tell me that joke, they're going to think that that's me and that's not me.
Yeah.
And then for some reason they get offended. It doesn't happen on the cruise ships a lot.
Yeah.
But at a comedy club, yeah, sure, because people are drunk.
Yeah, I had a complaint at one of my shows about that. Somebody came up and started telling me a joke, and I let him finish the joke, and I said, that's not something I could say on stage. And so he wrote a complaint. And so the producer came to me and said, what's the story with that? And I said, let me tell you the joke.
Yeah.
Okay? And I said, a Jew, an Arab, and he goes, stop.
Okay, yeah.
So yeah, we get a lot of that.
Wow. And I mean, it's that, I don't drink. I don't know if you do.
No.
Okay, I don't.
Water. I drink water.
I quit 20-something years ago.
I only drink out of Pierce Arrow cups.
There you go. Yeah. And, man, something about a nice guy mixed with alcohol equals, what's the word that I can use in your show here? A not nice guy. There you go. That's a good way to put it. Yeah. You take a guy that's a bank teller at Bank of America, and he's been there for 15 years. He's got a house that's really nice, and his wife, and he goes to a club on Friday, and he gets 6 beers in him, and all of a sudden he's a racist idiot, you know?
But don't you think, as the Romans used to say, truth and wine, that is what they're really like.
Yeah, that's probably what they're really like. You're right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Everything else is an act.
Yeah. Well, I hope not. I hope that it's the other way around. I hope that the alcohol brings out something.
Yeah, well. So you're doing cruise ships, and you were telling me that you also write.
Yeah, you were talking about magic. I always have that. Like, I actually, the first ever performance, thoughts that I had were magic.
You're not going to show me a trick, are you?
No, I went to, I'm going to tell you a joke. These two Jews walking a bar. I went to a magic store. I lived in Shreveport, and I went there and I bought some tricks. I remember reading about Houdini, like almost everybody did. Bought a couple of tricks, some handcuffs, and I remember the guy said, well, it'll take you about a week to get those tricks down. Well, we had them down the next day, me and my brother. And, wow, we used to do the crazy stuff. We would take ropes and tie ourselves up as best we could and leave ourselves there and see how long it took somebody to get out.
It's kind of my thing is escapes, actually.
Mine was just getting tied up.
You just like that part?
No, I'm just teasing.
Now it's $50. $50 an hour.
That's right. And I always think that most comics are either magicians or failed rock and roll people. You know, I was in bands for a long time. I sang for a long time. And if you're in a band and your drummer's a worthless person, then guess what? So are you. Because you're in a band with that guy.
Yeah.
And theater kind of saved me. I'd never seen a play. And one night, actually, was my drummer showed up late for rehearsal. I had never acted, never done comedy, any of that stuff. And I was just a singer. And my drummer showed up late. I got kind of mad. I left rehearsal, came home the next morning. There was an ad in the paper that said, needed men to sing in a play called Damn Yankees. And I thought, it was an audition notice, but I thought, wow, they need people to sing so bad they're running an ad. I didn't get the audition part of it. And I went down, and my hair was down the middle of my back, and I was, and it changed my life from that moment on. And it was very rigid discipline. You be here on time. If you're not here on time, somebody else wants your part. So if you're not here, I'll give it to somebody else.
Right.
And the director was actually my second marriage. I got married there in that theater that I started working at. I'd never seen a play, and 2 years later ended up writing one.
Oh, wow.
And I really enjoy. I love this. I love theater. I don't so much like to sit and watch a play. If it's a straight play, I do. A musical, I can't. I don't like that.
Thank you. Thank you.
I don't mind doing them. I don't mind being in one. That's kind of strange. I don't mind being in one, but to watch one, I can't get into it.
I can't do it. We went and saw Les Mis a year or two ago here, and I didn't know anything about it. I got to be honest. And so we went, and I'm like, why are they singing every single line?
Right.
Like they can't say yes or no without singing. So it was very irritating.
But I will say that when I watch, if I went to, I've never seen Grease live, but the movie, I love the movie. I can watch Grease over and over again because I grew up in that generation.
Yeah, that was big when I was a kid too. Actually,
yeah, and I think it's the #1 musical movie of all time.
Really?
Yeah, Chicago came close to beating it here recently.
I do like that one too because I think it has some humor and stuff.
I haven't seen it.
Oh yeah, see, I like the movie,
but I've seen some that were awful, and I've been in some that were probably bad. But Oliver's a great play. Oklahoma's a wonderful play to go see. Most people know most of the songs in those, and there's some that are just out there though.
My favorite though is watching a play or a musical and seeing something that you can tell isn't quite going right.
Right.
That's what I like. Maybe that's the comedian part.
And all those Elvis movies. I'm a huge Elvis fan, but
yeah,
I can't remember. Some comic had something about just about anything he says. Like, Elvis, would you like some lemonade? Lemonade.
Oh yeah. I remember
cool, refreshing drink.
Yes.
Yeah. Well,
I can't remember who that was, but yeah, everything had to be sung.
Yeah.
But yeah, musicals definitely not my. Not my thing, but you've written comedy for magicians.
Yeah, yeah. We were going to talk. We had a little conversation before this started, so we're going to flash back to that. I've written for a lot. I think to myself, I'm as good a writer as I am a comic. I can look at somebody else's act and go, "Oh man, you should say this and you should say that."
Yeah.
And over the years, I've got some magicians who have asked me to write for them, and I watch their act. And I remember there were two different two different magicians who approached me about writing for them. I watched their DVDs, and they were doing the exact same thing. And one particular bit was a block. It's like a yardstick kind of. It's a square thing, has ropes runs through it, and it disconnects. And I don't know what the trick's called. What's it called?
I don't know. It's like the pom pom thing. Is
Something
it that
like
one?
that.
Or I don't know. I don't do that style.
And it's and it comes with a script in the box.
Yeah.
And they were doing exactly the script that came in the box. And I was like, and they knew each other. I was like, do both of y'all know that y'all are doing this? And they go, well, yeah, that's the script that it came with.
Yeah.
I was like, write a different script, man. Come on. You yourself can think up something yourself. And I don't like Rick Thomas is here. He's a great magician. I like him very much. But I have never been one for. I think you said something about this for the ta-da thing and the girls dancing and all that stuff. I just rather. I just like to see the trick. Just show me the trick, man. I don't need all that other stuff.
Yeah,
just show me what you got.
And I say that in my show. I wear all black. I say I don't wear sequins, flashy coats. I don't have fog or fancy lights. I'm going to show you a trick.
Right.
And so that's what I do.
And I think illusionists like. I won't say Rick, because Rick actually does a great job.
Yeah, I enjoy his show. But he mixes in comedy. He's got little tricks in there. He's got big tricks.
And
he
he's
kind
a
of makes fun
world
of
champion ballroom dancer too. Did you know that?
I did not know.
Yeah, he is. He was him and
he
his
was
sister.
all over my feet when we were dancing. It was very awkward.
But for most people that don't know, like, and you can share this, like an illusion, like sawing a woman in half. You can go and buy that trick and do it yourself this weekend.
Easily.
But card tricks, coin tricks, all those things take years and months and years of dedication and practice to get it
If you only knew the hours I think about practicing.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I can't do card tricks. I can't do that. But I know how they work. I've just never done them.
Yeah.
And so,
I get a little aggravated when people say we love your illusions. And to me, it's two different things. But it's just nitpicking on my part.
Right.
Yeah.
Close-up magic takes a lot. It's like learning to play a piano. And versus... I don't know another comparison for the illusion.
Playing the radio.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. It's like driving a car is coin tricks and magic tricks, and playing the radio is an illusion.
Well, here's not to pick on illusionists, and then we'll move on. But I know one here in town that got very angry about something that happened in a show with someone, one of the assistants. And assistants is kind of a weird word to use in most of those situations.
Right.
And he said, "I'm the magician. You're just the person in the box." Where the person in the box does everything.
Right.
The magician in those cases is usually just, stalling.
And the key to all that is the person in the box did not have Twinkies that day.
Yes, you need to find tiny little
Yes, you need to find
anorexic.
tiny little people. Yeah,
That's why I always dated anorexic. They were cheaper to take out. I tried to date bulimics, but I felt like I was just flushing my money
yes,
away.
there you go. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so, but you've had a lot of experience. You've been on the road, and so you come back to Branson. Quite frankly, you step into a show that had quite a following with Jarrett.
Oh, and Paul.
And Paul. Mm-hmm.
They have kind of a history of having good comics there, but I'm doing my thing. I told them last night, I was like, there's no pretension in our show right now. We're not pretending to be anything. I'm telling jokes I like. I'm a storyteller, more or less. They're singing the songs they like to sing, and I'm telling the jokes that I like.
And the audience can tell that.
And I think they can tell that. When I was doing stand-up, I actually sat. I was a sit-down stand-up comic.
Oh well, that's...
And I always kind of had that feeling like we're all sitting around talking. We're in the living room talking. I'm telling a story. My story takes 45 minutes, and unfortunately, you're not going to get to tell yours.
You're right.
Because you got to go, yeah.
And that's kind of how I conduct our show, and I get compliments about that. As the MC, I act kind of as an outsider. Like, when something happens, wow, wasn't that...
Wow.
And, that was pretty
Well, that's a really neat approach to it, and I always did it the opposite way. As the MC, I always thought, this is my show, and I have some great guests in my show that are going to make my show fantastic. And don't you agree? Wasn't that wonderful? God, we're having a great time.
And I do that. I mean, I talk them up when they're coming out, but then afterwards they'll say, wow, that was really good.
Wow.
Did you see that?
Yeah.
That sort of thing. But,
and that Carson approach to it, Johnny Carson was kind of like that. Johnny Carson by himself for an hour wouldn't really be that great, hour after hour. But every night he brought wonderful people.
he knew how to make people.
He knew how to make people laugh.
And I'm trying really hard.
You're doing great.
No, my grandfather actually looked very much like Johnny Carson.
Yeah.
And so they would always say that. So I became intrigued by him. And there's a great documentary about Carson on Netflix about his life. And they interview everyone that knew him and what he was like in real life. And he started off as a magician.
Yes, he did. That's right.
His mother got him a book because he was very self-conscious. And she wanted him to become more outgoing. So he became he used that approach to kind of show off the people like he would show off the tricks. And I found a lot of similarities with me. And we were kind of just talking about that, where I used magic because I was so shy, and comedy because I was so shy and got picked on a lot.
Oh, wow.
As a kid. So I heard a quote from a comedian that said, a lot of guys become comedians to take the focus off of something they're not proud of about themselves.
Wow.
So I thought that was kind of Harry Shearer is the one that said that, and I thought that was kind of interesting.
I think Carson played drums too. Was he not a drummer?
I think he did. Yeah. A lot of people don't know that, and but he was extremely shy off stage and wanted nothing to do with people. Pretty much.
I read Ed McMahon's biography for some strange reason. I think I bought the audiobook and it was really cheap.
But there's a lot of slurred speech.
Yeah, there was a lot of hello. I mean, he actually talked a lot about that, and I was more interested in Carson and the Tonight Show.
Yeah, the documentary is amazing.
I need to see that. Yeah, I should see that. Yeah,
we have television now here in Branson.
Right,
so.
And there's nobody I don't think who has done more for stand-up comedy than Johnny Carson, even though he's been. I mean, man, we're back to the guy after him now. Jimmy Fallon's taken over. But still, to this day, I think Carson did more for stand-up comedy.
Yeah, but if Carson was around now, I think it would be entirely different. I don't think he would have the success, because I think the internet, YouTube, viral videos, people just taking their phones out and shooting little goofy things. No, we don't discuss that.
Yeah, we can talk about that. When did you graduate high school?
I was in school in the 90s, let's
say. Okay, so you're younger than I am. I graduated in 83. I'm almost 50. And so you may not even remember the 3-channel TV days.
Oh, I do. Yeah, I remember that.
There was a collective conscience back then. Everybody kind of knew the same thing. When I went to 8th grade on Wednesday when I was in 8th grade, I knew every kid in those halls that I was walking with had watched Happy Days and Laverne and Shirley the night before. I knew all of them had. And real quick, before we run out of time here, this has nothing to do with anything we're talking about, but I'll show you kind of an example of that. This is probably 1978 on Happy Days. As a gimmick, they had a guy come on that put the coins on his arm and caught the coins. And he was going for the world record. And they wrote him a little part in the show where he worked in the back, and Guinness, it was actually a Guinness record. They had the people from Guinness come on there, and that's what he was doing. They found out he was inept at anything, but they found out he could do that, so that was the big deal. So they ran that on the show Tuesday night. By Friday, I can remember sitting watching the news. I believe it was David Brinkley came on the news, and the top story Friday was, the practice of coin catching has been banned in schools across America because of the disturbances that it's caused. So that just kind of reinforces what I just said. Tuesday night, we all saw that. Mm-hmm. By Friday, all across America, it had been, teacher, my nickel fell under the thing. My money's under the lunch. I don't have my lunch money now because it fell under the grate or whatever. All across America. And I kind of think that's, to me, it's kind of cool. I kind of,
it's all lost now.
Yeah, my kids walk around not knowing anything. I don't know what my kids are watching, and Honey Boo Boo, and were you watching Housewives or whatever, and this show, and.
No, I totally agree. Because when I try to talk to people about a certain show, series or something, they have no idea what I'm talking about.
And even history, like we kind of grew up knowing the story of Romeo and Juliet. We kind of grew up knowing the story of Abraham Lincoln's assassination or whatever. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't think my kids. How old are your kids?
Well, I have 3-year-olds. I have twins that we were talking about.
Right.
And I have a 14-year-old.
So does your 14-year-old know anything about what would be collective knowledge that we had 20 years ago?
No, probably not.
Probably not, yeah.
No. And there is no focus. I mean, I don't know. I have a big problem with the internet, even though we use it.
All right.
We use it to get our words and stuff out. But it's when I see families out and everybody's on their phone, or, I'll tell you what bothers me is I'll post a video. If we were talking about the magician thing, I will post a video of something I came up with, and immediately on YouTube, I'll have 10 comments, where'd you buy this? And I got in an argument with somebody. I said, no, this is my routine. Well, who did it for you? What company did you buy it from? I said, no, this is my routine. And so we went back and forth, and eventually I said, listen, buddy, someone has to make up new routines.
Right.
I'm the guy that made up the new routine. Well, if you're not going to tell me where you bought it.
Wow.
He just didn't believe me. And so 3 weeks later, I get links, and there's 20 other people on YouTube doing that same routine now.
Oh, wow.
Does that frustrate you in comedy? I know.
I've had a few people steal some jokes from me, and
welcome to Branson.
Actually,
you just wait.
Yeah.
Branson's very unique, and I was told that the first week to be prepared. Anything that you do that's original will be everywhere.
And I guess other Branson comics watch this.
Yeah, sure.
So I'll look right at the camera and tell you, don't steal my stuff.
Oh.
I'll be upset, and you shouldn't steal. If you're funny, you should write your own jokes.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with doing a stock joke. Hey, you're late. Can I get you anything like a watch? And even somebody wrote that joke the first time. It was probably a caveman or
right.
Archimedes
they had
or
to have a watch.
Yeah.
Get yourself a sundial.
That's it.
That's probably what it was.
A stick in the ground.
I agree. Stock lines are one thing, very specific ones,
And especially when you steal somebody's. I mean, man, that's more or less like going in my cupboard and taking 2 cans of ravioli and a can of corn. That's kind of what that is. You're stealing money from me.
Mm-hmm. Would you agree, though, that here in Branson, they don't... You just got here to Branson.
Right.
I mean, you've been here before. But I find it odd that people don't believe that. When I'm on a ship...
Oh, man.
You don't do that. Or especially when I work in like Los Angeles or something. And immediately, if I use a line... Somebody will say, that's very similar to so-and-so.
Right.
And so I'll look it up and then I'll feel bad. Like maybe I overheard it. Like I would never purposely do it.
And there's nothing wrong with parallel thinking. I mean, there was a time when I started doing stand-up and started featuring when everybody had a crocodile hunter bit.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, my gosh. And I would see big arguments about, hey, man, you wasn't doing that in your crocodile hunter bit the last time we worked together. You stole that part of that joke from me. But yeah, man, you shouldn't steal jokes.
Yeah, well, I do jokes about my family and kids. I try to keep it personable. Yeah. And when I go and see a comedian that also talks about having twins, and I know they don't have any kids, and they're doing my routine, that's a little bit different. And I take it very personal. In fact, this past year, I'd had enough on the ship, and someone stole from me thinking that I got off the ship. Wow. I haven't told this story yet. So they thought I was gone, and I went to the welcome aboard, and they did my bits about having kids and about Branson. I do jokes about living in Branson, and they did it. I was visiting Branson, and I noticed. Wow. But it was the same exact routine.
Wow.
And then he saw me at the nightclub that night, and he's like, oh, you'll get over it, you'll get over it. And we actually it escalated quite a bit, and he was removed from the ship.
Wow.
So, but yeah, I don't take comedy.
And that's, I mean, and he knows. And if you go to the Funny Bone, like the Funny Bone up in St. Louis, and you do somebody else's joke, you won't ever be back. You'll never come back.
But here they say it's a tribute. It's paying tribute to you.
Yeah, if you say this person, this is a joke by this person, I don't mind that. I had a buddy of mine pass away, and he was my mentor, and occasionally I'll do one of his jokes, and I'll say, well, my buddy of mine, Tim, used to say this.
Yeah, right. I do the same thing.
But they don't.
No,
it's not a tribute if you're just taking it.
You're just taking it.
Yeah, and that's why I kind of like the fact that I'm a storyteller. I tell stories, and I mean, it would be hard for somebody to steal something of mine.
Yeah,
I think.
we're very, very similar. I'm noticing this. We didn't talk before,
right.
But I do the same thing.
We just met,
like
37 minutes ago,
yeah.
Yes.
But I literally do stories about my day and my life, and my personality, because I'm a little quirky sometimes. And so if someone tries to do that, they look odd. I had a comedian here in town that got a DVD of my act, but I do 2 parts to our act. We have a pre-show, we have a dinner. And so I'll go out and talk with people and get information and kind of do a few jokes about it. And then later on I'll do punchlines to some of the things we talked about.
Oh, wow.
So he just did the punchlines. And they just fell flat. Like he didn't understand why it wasn't funny when he said it. And, so it gets lost.
Most of just about everything I do is a story that something that I witnessed or happened, and I incorporated embellished it a little bit and made it into a good story.
People around here love that.
And I'm also finding, what's your name's Chris? Do you mind if I call you Steve?
That's fine.
That's a lot easier.
I'll just go with that. Yeah.
That in a comedy club, I use language that I can't use here in Branson. Mm-hmm. So I still have bits that were intermingled with language I can't use here in Branson, that I haven't even done yet here because I'm too scared to start doing it because of the way it's programmed. I've been doing this 10 years this way.
Right.
It's kind of like singing Bad, Bad Leroy Brown. Bad, Bad Leroy Brown. Baddest man in the whole gosh darn town.
Right, exactly.
It's going to mess you up. One of these days that's going to come out wrong. Mm-hmm. So I'm not struggling with that. I prefer, and it's funny how, I'll tell you this, I know we got to go. Well, this is long distance. This is costing money. The bits that I thought the cursing or that's all of it. The cursing part of it is what made the joke good. I'm starting to learn if I take the cuss words out, it'll stand alone as a good bit.
Right.
That's kind of a pat on the back to me. That it's funny through and through. Funny's funny no matter if you're cussing or not.
Right. Me too.
And I'm not a vulgar comic, but I'm a Southern guy, man. I say hell and damn and stuff like that.
Right away, I'm insulted by that kind of situation. Well, I do the same thing with not just jokes, but with magic. I have routines that I'll do in one style, but around here, magic is a touchy subject with some very religious people. And
really?
Yeah, card tricks are one thing, but pretending to read minds or anything like that. So I have to rework it a little bit.
What?
Not so much now because I'm established here. But when I first got here, I was scared to death. When I was on the ship, my number one act was an act where I have a girl come out. She's a giant voodoo doll, and she's all dressed up. And you can see me pull a pin out of her, and I get a volunteer up, and I borrow a woman's scarf and put it on the voodoo doll. The volunteer's blindfolded. As I poke the doll, this woman feels it, And it's a trick.
Wow.
But I had to revamp it as to we all have a love bond between us and take out the voodoo part.
Wow.
And then it's perfect. And to me, the humor in that is it's the exact same routine. It's just the wording of it.
Wow.
That makes it different. Same thing is happening. But.
Yeah, I had a joke that what was it? Have you ever been with, I would say, have you ever been with a fat guy? All right. Well, everybody said you can't say it like that. You have to say dated. Have you ever dated a fat guy? Mm-hmm. Because been with has the connotation of, we've slept together. Yeah. Yeah, and I just thought, and I mean, my mind doesn't work like that.
No, you get
when
that
they said that, I was like, oh, okay. Yeah. Well, now I see what you're saying,
mm-hmm.
but I didn't see that when it came out of my mouth.
Yeah, people will come out after the show, I can't believe you said whatever. And I didn't think like that.
Right.
That tells a lot about the people, right?
Right. Oh, yeah.
That come out. My daughter did a joke. She's very funny. And she did a joke. She had a rather large kid in her class that just hated her. And just didn't like her for some reason. She said, he finally liked me. I said, how did you get him? She's like, the little fat boy. That's what she called him. Little fat boy didn't like me. This when she was really little. Doesn't like me, doesn't like me. Dad, he finally likes me. And I said, how'd you get him to like you? She's like, it was a piece of cake. So there you go.
That's good.
Yeah. But, yeah, so do you, have you had any issues since you've come here with your humor? Have you had, well, I'll say this, because you stepped into a position that Paul had and Jared had, and were, I don't want to say iconic, but they were associated with that theater.
Right.
Last year they had several different people that tried it, and they're not there this year. And I said I wouldn't have done it, because no matter how good you are at that point, people were used to the other two for so long. But you've had that little buffer of time, a year,
Right.
where they've been gone. So how have you found the crowds?
That's a really good question. Nobody else has asked me really how I feel about the fact that I'm stepping into these big shoes. But I'll think of it like this: like comedy is like going into Baskin Robbins. There's 31 flavors there, and I'm going to go in and I'm going to get. What are you going to get? We're going to Baskin Robbins. What are you going to get?
I'm lactose intolerant, so you're about to kill me.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm just kidding.
Just
Rocky Road. I'm getting Rocky Road.
I'm probably going to get the pralines and cream. But we're going to see somebody get that rainbow sherbet or whatever or something. We're going to.
Not in
I'm
Branson,
going
they
to
don't do rainbow.
I'm going to go, man. What is? I got that. I'm going to go. Why would you buy that? But that's because that's what they like. That's their favorite right there. And even though I don't like that, this one. I deserve to be in that case. Right. I know that I deserve to be in that of those 31 flavors. Because, and that's not my ego talking. I've just been doing this long enough to know that I'm a good comic. I'm not the best comic. I'm not Joe Comic. But I'm just the next comic, you know. When you go to a comedy club, that's the strange thing about mine and his job when you work in a comedy club. If you go to St. Louis and you work at the Funny Bone, they can go, man, you were the best we have ever had. You were absolutely the best we have ever had do this. Well, can I come back next week? No, you cannot. You're fired.
Yeah,
Call us and you can come back in about 8 months. Doesn't matter if you're the greatest ever, you can't come back next week.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's kind of the way I think about it. Paul did his thing, Jared did his thing, and I'm doing my thing, and it's completely different. I'm not trying to emulate them. I'm not trying to.
You're echoing what Perry, who does Hardly Worth It, said the other day. He said the same thing. He said, I can do a show for 1,000 people, and one person will have an issue with it. They can't accept the fact that 999 other people liked it.
Right.
You know, they just have a weird mentality, and so he said, I just look at it as I had 999 people that enjoyed it. And maybe one didn't. So. And
I'm kind of like, I guess I'm like that too. If there's, you know, I think there's 415 there last night. If 414 liked the show and the one didn't, I don't care. I don't care. It's just there's something wrong with you.
And there's some people that just don't like comedy.
Right.
Do you get people that come out after? Do you meet the crowd after the show?
I do meet the crowd after the show.
I get people that come out and they say, I don't like comedy, and I always say, well, that's sad.
Right.
How can you not like anything funny? That would be a very strange life to have.
Right, and I've got a couple of things that I got a couple of bits that I do that by the end, when that bit's over, I feel like everybody in that audience has laughed. At least at something I said. You've laughed at something I said.
And that's what they usually say. I don't usually like comedy, but there's always big butts here in Branson.
Right.
So,
right.
So
it's very strange, man. It's bizarro entertainment world.
Yeah.
It really is. That's what I always said about it before. That it's just so strange that you wouldn't. Our age people in St. Louis, or whatever, Charlotte, North Carolina, would not think that there's people going, hurry, honey, or we're going to miss Jimmy Osmond tonight that we paid $40 each to go see. You know,
yeah,
that's just very strange to me, and to the rest of the world too.
And we have a strange life. It's very hard to have high self-esteem, I think, in my life. My grandma said it was normal in losers like me.
Wow.
But she...
That wasn't your real grandma.
Yeah. Really? He said he was. It was a rest stop. It was very dark. Anyways, no, but you were kind of saying about the comedy clubs, and I also think going along that we can have nights where we do the same set, and you just kill and kill and kill, and then one night flop.
Right.
And you're like, what is wrong with me tonight? What is wrong?
You're talking about in the club or here?
Either
or
way,
both, right.
Yeah, both. Because I treat mine as a club act here, if you saw. But then I think I must have done something wrong. I must have done. But here, because we do 400 some shows a year. You're going to do a lot of shows.
You're thinking they must have done something.
I'm thinking we're on a boat. the weather wasn't so good today.
Right.
They had to walk down in the rain, this, that, whatever. I've accepted it a little bit more, but it used to drive me insane.
Oh, and at a club, I would try to figure that out too. I was like, man, we're Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and this is second, it's first show Friday, and it didn't go that well. But these jokes have killed, and then, so you got to kind of boil down to that old saying of you're only as good as your last show.
Uh-huh.
I don't believe that. You're as good as your act, you're as good as how good you are. But there's a certain feng shui to every show, and like a waitress can mess something up.
Yes.
You can be building that momentum, and you've been going for 7 minutes, and then she's like, "Did you have a Diet Coke?"
Yeah. Or a weird laugher in the
audience. Yeah,
I've had it where
like
somebody's laughing in a weird. It sounds weird, and so other people are reluctant to laugh along.
Right. Or the finest girl in the room stands up to go to the bathroom, and every dude in there is like, "Wow, check that out." And so you just lost half of those people.
Yeah.
I've actually seen that happen, and when she comes back, I just stop and look too.
Yeah.
You think I'm going to waste material while she's walking?
Yeah.
Just let her sit down over there. All right, now what?
I had that happen with a school. We get a lot of high schools. And I do a big build-up. My whole act, the whole cruise builds up to something that happened. I have a lot of callback at the very end.
Oh, wow.
Everything makes sense that I joked about. And I was at that moment where it was all going to come around, and some girl from a high school got a text message and screamed because she was so excited about it. Right as I'm about to do the punchline.
Wow.
Just shrieks, oh my God, raises her phone up. And I said, thank you very much. It also happened to be the night I had a film crew filming the show. So.
That you said that bad laughter, that distinctive laugh person, they can ruin it. Somebody talking too much, and I have to take out all those. In a comedy club, like a heckler, you shut them down really fast, and you say things. You have step number 1, and then step number 2,
and then security.
Right, and Ron White, tater salad guy, taught me a great one, and he just taught. I don't even know if this was his. He said, here's a great way to say it. He goes, you just tell them, say, hey, listen, if you'll be quiet, you'll be able to stay till the end of the show. Well, that is a math equation that they have to do.
Actually.
This plus this equals, I see what you're saying, okay. And then that gives them the choice, and there's no joking about it. It's be quiet or leave, one of the two. But here, you can't shut somebody down here so much because it's a nice 70-year-old lady who
doesn't realize she's talking.
Right, yeah.
But we had somebody whose hearing aid kept going. The feedback.
Oh, wow.
And we could hear, and so everyone in the audience the entire time was looking around, trying to figure out who it was, and it was just the squealing noise.
Wow.
So that was awesome. I've only had to remove somebody one time from a show, and it was just somebody that was so drunk it was very disruptive.
Here?
No,
okay.
That would be awesome.
Something else, yeah.
That would be awesome. No, here, I draw attention by saying, I'm sorry? Like they're talking to me, and I do that a few times. Like, I'm sorry, are you talking to me? Did you say something? Or I'll start answering what their questions that they have, and then that usually helps. But
in a comedy club, I've never thrown anybody out, but I have said, well, I'm going to stop telling jokes until they leave.
Yeah, get the audience to do it. That's what I say.
Oh, I would say that a lot. I'd say, I would kind of make fun of somebody. I'd go, sir, you keep talking. You see that guy right there? That guy makes $12 an hour. He worked for 6 hours to be able to pay for his wife and him to come out to the show tonight. If you don't, and you're ruining it for him.
Yeah.
That guy's probably going to be looking for you in the parking lot.
That's
so
right.
I would think it'd be best for you to shut up. And I add some other languages in there to make it more colorful.
Yeah, and I've done that in a comedy club because I get to a point where I just say, should we let them go ahead and keep talking? If they're talking to me when they're heckling. Should we let them talk, or do you want me to go on with the act? And so they'll all cheer.
And that thing at like 5 minutes before you're closing, then they start talking. And you're on your closer. Do you become the, because people are going to say, I don't know, man, my vocabulary is limited. Are you going to be the stick in the mud?
There we go. We'll go with that.
That ruins the show. That everybody goes, oh, why did he say that?
Yeah.
Or do you let them keep going? There's that balance there, and I'm trying to get through it. I think most of the time at that 5 minute mark, I'll just look over here and just keep going.
I have people heckle the magic because they think they know how things are done, and so I love it because usually I shoot them down because the whole point of my magic is to disprove all of everyone's theories.
Well, that's the thing about magic I always liked is to look at a trick and go, how can you do that different? I have a buddy of mine, Matthew David Stanley, who I'll encourage to. Do you know him?
No.
I'll encourage him to watch this actually because I mentioned him. He had a trick that was it was ketchup and mustard in a bag, and you know how probably know how it works. And I encouraged him to try to. I said, do this way. And by the next time I saw him, he was like, "I'm doing that.
Yeah,
and it's killing every time."
Yeah.
And he goes, "I've had magicians. I used to have a thing where take a champagne bottle and put it in a paper bag and throw it away. All right, and that works. I'm sure you know how that works. But we would start the scene off by taking that bottle in a glass and ding, and it would ding, and then pouring some out of there, putting it in a bag and throwing it away.
Right.
So other magicians who would be in the audience that I didn't even know. I was working with a piano player at the time. We were doing big theater, 1,600 people. Magicians would be in the audience, and they'd come up to us after the show, and they'd go, they know how the trick works, but they'd go, how'd you know the question they would ask. Right. And that always made me feel great when a magician goes, wow, that's not the way that...
Yeah, I get that at the Magic Castle. Or we used to have a magic convention here in Branson, and so they would all come out to the show, and afterwards they'd say, there was one routine in particular that's a common routine. However, my presentation was completely different and my method was different.
Wow.
So this certain thing would happen. So they'd be watching and trying to figure out, well, how's that money going to get there? And I would do everything to disprove what they thought was happening. And so then they would come to me with all these theories. Wow. And that made you feel good. You'd
yes,
feel like,
yes, absolutely.
Oh, and I would ask them their theories and they'd be so far off. Basically, I'd borrow a bill, it's signed, and it appears in a piece of fruit. This is how magicians do it.
Right.
So you sign it and it appears in a piece of fruit that you pick. Okay, that's the routine. Mine was I tear it, you sign half, I sign half. Your half appears in the fruit that you're holding before we tear it. So you're holding it the entire time. And it ends up being in this little piece of fruit. My half is in a balloon that I gave to a little kid in the pre-show.
Wow.
And so they would say, we have no idea. We knew you were going to get it in the orange, but you blew us away.
Wow,
So
that's great.
Mm-hmm.
I need to come see your act.
Yeah, no, I don't want you there.
I might need new material.
You will soon, because they won't let you do any of your other stuff.
That's right.
But you enjoy working at Pierce Arrow, I take it.
It's a great show.
It is. I go there every year.
Customers or people watching this, or is this
sure.
Yeah, come see the show. I think it's one of the better shows in town.
It's just me and you.
All right. Matthew David Stanley.
Yeah,
I mentioned his name. Yeah, come see the show. I think it's a great show, and without tooting our own horn, we have Dan Britton, who was the Guinness record holder for the lowest note in the world for 18 years. We also have a chick, Shauna Bonds, who sings "I Will Always Love You," like Whitney Houston nails it.
Incredible.
So I honestly think that we have probably the broadest range of vocals from the lowest note to the highest note in all of Branson.
You should put that on the billboards.
Yeah, or something. I think that's too much. I don't know if people understand.
Like exactly what you just said, the whole speech.
Or just come see us. We're Branson. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
always a good show. I go every year and check it out. With our schedule, we can't go to a lot of shows because I work at the same time you work for the most part. And then the kids want attention and stuff. So they get mad when I leave them in the car when I'm in a show.
Yeah.
Got in trouble for that, leaving the kids sitting in the back seat.
Yeah.
Somebody complained. Yeah, well, now I got to get the kids out, put them in the trunk, go watch the show.
Of course.
And so your wife's in the trunk, whatever.
Well, she's not in the car. I'm not ashamed of her.
Oh, really?
She's sitting in the car out there.
But her choice to stay in the car.
No.
No.
It's her choice to roll the window down.
Oh, I see.
Because I'm not mean. I understand it's kind of warm outside.
Yeah. That's
my wife is, you can say I'm kind of a big guy. My wife is 4'8" and about 103 pounds.
Really?
A tiny little thing, yeah.
You just carry her around on your shoulder.
In a box. I got her in a little box like that.
You're nuts over her. She's
Bob Saget. I remember Bob Saget.
Yeah. So I want to thank you for talking with us. It's been fun.
Yeah, man.
I learned a lot about you. And go see the Pierce Arrow Show. Go to I think it's the PierceArrowShow.com.
PierceArrowTheater.com. You can like us on Facebook and all that stuff. And come see the show, man. It's a lot of fun, and it's not a lot of, like I said, it's not a lot of, I don't think it's a lot of Branson humor. I think that I'm not doing what's normal.
That's what we need.
Normal humor in Branson,
yeah. So but you'll be dressed as a hillbilly shortly.
I am having to do a couple of costumes, but I kind of do them as a parody of, hey, look, this is not. I shouldn't be doing this. You
Yeah.
shouldn't have me.
Yeah,
Costumes.
I don't do characters, but when I have to interact with characters, I'm like, seriously, we're doing this? This
Right.
is happening. And I kind of make fun of that.
Well, I'm trying to write. So, I mean, I understand that. Writing a scene is really neat. Writing a scene is a wonderful thing. But just for some random person to come walking up and, hey, I'm a whatever. I can't put that in my head yet.
My wife constantly says I make scenes. So,
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're making a scene. So,
Yeah.
So anyways, go to piercearrowtheater.com and say hi to James, and thanks for watching us.
Hey, thanks for watching, and thanks for having me.
Thank you. Bye-bye.